finisher. Let's go get your medal. Go get your medal. Yeah, good job.
You finished!
Get the puppy! Come on, guys! He's like almost hard. Nice job!
I thought the race was really good. I felt it was really well marked. That was the highest thing. I mean, and the route was great too. So yeah, I would do this again next year.
Brian Watson, we're done with the run. What a beautiful morning to be out. It was perfect running conditions. All the kids did a great job. It was great to come out and support our wonderful teachers who we love and admire so much. And we love this community, and we can't wait to do it again next year. Hopefully we'll get all the kids out running because they did such a spectacular job. But all in all, a beautiful morning, and can't argue with the music and coffee and ice cream for the kiddos, so it was a great morning.
They're behind you. Someone get him water. You can do it.
Thanks for watching OCA.
Thanks for watching OCA.
Thanks for watching OCA.
Thanks for watching OCA.
Stoughton Health asks you to help save a life. Donate blood at Stoughton Health's upcoming blood drive on February 16th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. The event will be hosted at our Community Health and Wellness Center at the corner of Highway 51 and County Road B. Masks are optional. Appointments are strongly encouraged. Sign up online at bloodcenter.org.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here. I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
It's a great idea. Keep us on task.
Whatever works.
5 says 5:15. All right, so it's 5:15 on Wednesday, February 14th. I'd like to call this meeting of the Oregon Public Library Board to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Sure. Shadeda.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Gatlin.
Here.
Beshin. Bergstrom.
Here.
Bonsonfield.
Here.
And Reese.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. I would entertain a motion to adopt or amend the agenda. Move to adopt. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Opposed? All right, we got an agenda. Any community input this evening? Okay.
A laugh track, that's all.
Moving on to our consent agenda. Amend or approve minutes from our January meeting?
I'll move to approve the minutes from our January meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Nope. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Let's move on to review and payment of available bills and accepting financial reports. Thank you, Jen. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Thank you, Coral. Is there anything you'd like to point out for us, Jennifer?
We are still just getting a few straggler bills from 2023 coming in from that kind of go through different departments. You're also seeing in this packet a number of one-time per year bills from South Central Library System. So you're kind of wondering why things are a certain amount. It's because we're paying an invoice for the whole year in those categories. We are still have some building expenses, but those are kind of winding down. So you kind of see that there'll be some of those on here, but not the volume or the amount that we were having previously. Are there any questions about any items on this report?
Any questions? Okay. So all in favor of reviewing and payment of bills and accepting the financial reports?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thanks everybody. Moving on to building project and punch list report.
So we invited Jeff here to kind of just update you on where we are with the project. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, and then he's also going to explain the few agenda items following this once he's kind of done updating you on the project.
Sure.
They kind of go together.
So we're almost done. We got occupancy the middle of December, and we've been working since then to just take care of some final items where there was material that needed to come in. There's things that needed to be corrected. There's just punch list stuff that, you know, we're missing a doorknob somewhere, or it needed to be fixed, or those types of things. So, but it's taken probably longer than we expected to do that, I think. I would have hoped that we would maybe have been closed out the middle of January, end of January, and so we're still in February meeting with Tri-North each week and the architect and going through those lists, making sure we get those items taken care of. So we have it down to a document that we're keeping track of the punch list. What will happen here soon, hopefully after we meet with them this Thursday, is we'll boil that down and then we'll try to assign some value to it. Because they're going to be looking for their next pay request, and we're going to hold a certain amount of what's called retainage, so that we have those dollars and make sure that that matches the value of what's left to be done and corrected. There's some work outside that needs to be taken care of. There's a berm that needs some adjustment in elevations, and there's some landscaping work and other things. So even if we get all the little things taken care of inside the building, we'll be holding some retainage until probably May, June of this year, you know, depending on how the weather goes, to get that stuff taken care of. So, you know, punch list, trying to assign the appropriate dollars, and then we did do the final change order with Tri-North, which, if you saw in the packet, is 75 pages, so there was lots of little things that were left, and we had been, you know, approved along the way, and when you're focusing on getting the building done, that kind of final paperwork doesn't get cleaned up until after the fact. But we got it all identified, went through it, negotiated, tried to get some offset for the fact that maybe we got completed a month later than we wanted to, so we got some compensation for that. And then two change orders that Jennifer will go through later is that there was some additional time for me now in February, and some additional time for the architect having these meetings with Tri-North to close it out. But we got reimbursed from Tri-North in the change order for that as part of some of the offsets that we negotiated. So, and I think that not to speak for the overall budget, because we haven't reconciled that yet, but what we were projecting in August, September of last year for construction versus where we landed with Tri-North was maybe $40,000 or something like that under what we were projecting. So at least we didn't continue to go over what we were projecting for the final amount. So we're trying to get to all's well that ends well. If they can get their final punch list taken care of, maybe we can get to that spot. But we've got to hound them for a little bit while longer for that to happen. Were there any questions on the change order or anything that anybody saw there? All right. Any questions with anything else with the getting the work completed and the punch list done? If you see something, you just let Jennifer and I know, and we'll put it on our list somewhere. We've had a couple of people help us with things that they saw. So.
I'm sure.
All right. Jennifer, anything else?
I think that's fine. We're excited to have the punch list wrapped up so we can move on to some other things.
Yes, right. Well, it was nice to come to a meeting in the new library. So I'm glad I got. Hopefully, this is my last meeting. Not that I love all you folks, but come on now.
That's fair. I just want to say thank you for all your hard work. I mean, we couldn't have done this without you leading and helping, and you did a great job. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I think we all want to say that. Really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can we?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you got to come tonight while it was still light outside, so you
Right?
could see
It is
the.
kind of nice.
Hopefully, you saw the view out the back windows. 'Cause that's the cool part.
Pretty good.
Do you need me for anything else?
Nope, I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Oh. I'll be right back in this exact same room.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right,
Thanks,
well, I'll go
Jeff.
home and sleep, and then I'll be right back. Thank you. Thank you.
Do we need to approve the change order number 8? Is that?
Yeah, so change order number 8 is that 75-page document he was referring to with the dollar amounts kind of negotiated. So you have a one-page summary in your packet. You also had a link to the full 75-page document for anybody who wanted to delve digger into it. The total ad for it is $117,019.75. Because they negotiated very round numbers there for us. But yeah, we would need a approval of that to get that incorporated into the contract for them.
Okay. Is there approval of change order number 8?
May I make that motion?
Please, John. Is there a second? Sure. Thank you, Brian. Any discussion?
I have a question. This number at the bottom, is that the total cost of the building? The 12,404,542?
That is the total for the construction contract for the building. So the $12,107,000 was the original contract. And then through the project, we had a contingency budget to help address things that either needed to be changed or where the plans were unclear and needed more detail. And so that will be the total cost for the construction contract with Tri-North after we approve this change order.
And it's really super close to what we had predicted.
It's close to what we predicted between the original budget and then the contingency that we had. We had a $300,000 contingency, and that's typical of projects. That's not something unique to this project. Most projects budget a certain percentage. Ours was actually on the lower end of what you might see in terms of percentage because we cut $200,000 from the contingency when we were trying to cut back right after we went out to bid. So the fact that we were able to stay on within that contingency is wonderful.
Really good administration of the building process.
Yeah, I think Jeff, that's a large testament to Jeff, making sure that we're getting good pricing and coming up with creative solutions sometimes to do that. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor of approving project change order number 8?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Moving on to construction bulletin 19 regarding the OPN services.
And that's basically just voting to approve additional compensation to OPN to compensate for the additional time that they've spent working through these last final project items over the last 2 months.
So moved.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Coral. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And then the Vine Consulting change order number 3.
And the same thing for Jeff, that is the change order for his time, for additional time in January, and then a discounted month for February for just the extra time he's put into meetings and working with contractors and things. There's been a lot of work still going on. We've had contractors here pretty much every day, and someday we've had up to 4 different trades here doing different things. Last week I was here at 6:30, 3 days in a row, just to have different people in the building, so we're trying to get it done outside of hours. So there's still a lot going on. Some of those are wrapping up. There's still a couple trades that are still having more work to do because of where their work fell in the project or things that had to happen before they could wrap up. So Jeff will, I would recommend you approve this to reimburse Jeff for those services, and then he would be, you know, even though we might not see him at a meeting, he will be available. We can pay him an hourly rate, you know, if we do need his assistance to continue to wrap things up, we can still continue to work with him on an as-needed basis, or we could vote to extend it if he comes to the meeting tomorrow and feels like we might need the services longer than we need to. We can do that as well. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Jennifer. Is there a motion to approve the Vine Consulting change order? Thank you, Pearl. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Leslie. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Sunsetting of Library Building Committee and Campaign Steering Committee.
So we have these two amazing groups of people that were, I think, got into a bigger commitment than maybe they were expecting when we first talked to them, but they both put in lots and lots of time and lots of heart into making this project possible, and it wouldn't be possible without, you know, any single one of them not being part of the project. So I just want to take a minute to recognize those people, and then I'm in the wrong packet. That would help if I'm in the right place. Sorry. In the 75-page document, it would be a lot of scrolling to get there. Sorry. So we just want to recognize those. So I'm just going to read through the Library Building Committee member names and the Steering Committee member names, just you know, to recognize the countless hours and the loss of sleep and the heart that they put into it. And I know all of you put a lot of the same time and heart into it, but they were told that it would be a short-term commitment, and sometimes that commitment became multi-years. So the Library Building Committee members were Jenny Nelson from the Library Board, John Bonsett-Beal from the Library Board, Amanda Peterson and Jenna Jacobson, who were both Village Board members at the time they were appointed, John Bano, who serves on the Plan Commission, Amanda Heath, Lindsay Honeyegger, Brent Teskey, and then we also had members that were able to serve for a while and then moved on, Kyle Severson, who was a former Library Board member, and Megwin Sanders Andrews, who moved out of town. And they were responsible for working with OPN on the design of the space, and then also, you know, reevaluating that when we had to make it more efficient. And just really were thoughtful about thinking about what the community needs were, and how to make choices to make it a really special space, and then also being mindful of dollars when they were making those decisions, prioritizing, you know, what was most important to our community. We also have steering committee members, Jenny Nelson, who's the Library Board, Jeannie Carpenter, who was on the Library Board at the time she was appointed, Randy Glish and Mark Miller. They were serving on behalf of Oregon Community Resource Network when they were first appointed, Cynthia DiCamelli, Bob Head, and Bob donated countless hours of graphic design to our project, which was a huge asset to our campaign. Arlen Kai, Jason Mankey, and Aaron Zitzelsberger. So just want to take a minute to recognize them. And then we just thought it would be clean to just officially sunset those committees and express appreciation to those folks for the work that they did.
Thank you, Jennifer. Is there a motion to sunset and thank all of these wonderful volunteers?
So moved.
Thank you, Jen. Is there a second?
You appreciate
Thank
yourself.
Any discussion or comments?
May I?
Please.
When I saw this on the agenda, I just want to cry. The people that we worked with on these committees were some of the most amazing human beings I've ever experienced working with, and we had an amazing opportunity to create this wonderful building. And with every meeting that I attended with the building committee, I just grew to really appreciate all of them and really just, I don't even have words, how grateful I am that I could have been a part of that. Amazing. So, for this opportunity, I'm really super grateful. That's what I have to say.
Thank you, John.
Can I add one more thing too?
Yeah,
I don't mean to take the spotlight, but the other thing I should recognize is we've raised a very impressive amount of money for this project because of the heart of our staff, the heart of our community, the heart of our boards. We've raised over $2.7 million in donations and then $1 million from the federal grants, so that's $3.7 million in round numbers. That's incredible for a community of our size. When we did the feasibility study and they told us that we could raise $4 million, we're like, no way. And here we are, you know, a couple years later, despite having tried to raise money during a pandemic, and we pretty much did that. So that's pretty incredible. And that says a lot about Oregon. It says a lot about each of you and each of the people that touch this in some way. So it's a big deal.
Yes.
Sorry, okay, no, I'm done.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate that. And just a heartfelt thank you to everyone on this board as well. Like, we couldn't have done this without you guys, so thank you so much for everything you guys have done. Okay, so all in favor of officially sunsetting the library building committee and steering committee?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? All right, thanks everyone for their service on those committees. Moving on to donation offer.
We are still working on, as you know, we were trying to make sure everything stays within budget, so there's some things that we've kind of waited to wrap up, and one of the things that we haven't quite gotten to yet is making sure we have some artwork that really makes the space feel special. And we talked previous meetings about we have some places where we can include local artists, you know, some display space and things like that. But in the meantime, while we've not been able to get that done, we have had a local artist reach out with a piece and want to offer it to us if we wish to accept it. And so I included that in the packet and let that person know that that would be, you know, up to the board, and that we would get back to them after we had a chance to talk about it. Beautiful thing is we have lots of windows, but it also means we don't have a ton of space, but we do have right now you know, a lot of room available. So.
I think it's beautiful.
I love it. It kind of goes with our colors. 20 by 24 seems like a nice size.
I would move to accept the beautiful donation.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Coral. Is there any discussion, comments?
Just have one question.
Yeah.
Because I've had artwork donated before. I guess, does it come with some sort of thing saying in the future this might be removed or replaced? Some sort
That
of
it may be a
question
rotating collection.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
I wouldn't necessarily, you know, because if something needs to go on that wall that's library related, or you know, after a while it doesn't match. It's a beautiful piece of artwork. I don't want to say that. I just want to make sure there's something that they understand that it might not be there forever. That would be my only comment.
That's very smart. I agree. Yeah.
This raised a question in my mind, if I could add. Do we have some mechanism, like a committee or something, to review art either on a permanent or rotating or temporary basis so that we have some control? It's not just kind of a hodgepodge. I mean, I don't want to denigrate this. It's a beautiful piece.
Yep.
But do we have like a plan in place?
That was really something we had hoped to kind of get ahead of and really have some clear guidelines. It was just something that we weren't able to get as far as we wanted on. What Kara has done is we're working on a process for the art rails that we have. We have some art rails in the community room, and we have art rails in the reading room, and our intent would be to invite artists to submit to be on display in those spaces. And we're hoping that we can have that policy before you next month so that we can have a process in place and then have a time scheduled for that. We have a call to art so that people want to be included in that have a way to know about that and to apply to participate in that. So I guess that's what we'd like to start with. I think we do want to make sure that pieces we're accepting for the rest of the space, we kind of don't want to do it piecemeal, and because we have this opportunity, it doesn't mean I want to make sure you take it up on good opportunities, but what I don't have is have 25 different individual requests and then that we're just taking everything. And so I think that this, taking this offer is great, and then if we get future offers, that we might need to just say, we're not, for the time being, we're gonna take a step back and get the pieces that we've already approved, and then kind of identify other opportunities, and then kind of maybe set up a plan moving forward how we can do that, because we do want to make sure things fit, and we do want to have some pieces with local artists and things, and we just want to make sure that that's done thoughtfully and respectfully to the artists and the space as well.
Would it be fair to amend the motion to include the fact that we will accept it with the caveat of a conversation with the generous artist regarding the fact that this donation would be under the future, would be subject to any future guidelines or any guidelines that we will be developing in the near future related to artistic donations?
I think that would be appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Then so moved. It's a friendly amendment. It's a friendly amendment.
Thank you.
According to protocol, the maker has to approve that friendly amendment.
That was me.
Are you the maker? Do you agree with that?
I agree with my own friendly amendment.
And then you have to have the agreement of the second.
Yep, Coral, do you agree?
I agree.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Jenny, does that cover?
That's perfect.
Okay.
I just wanted to.
Yep.
That's great.
Great.
Thank you.
Just want to make sure that covers your concern.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All in favor then?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you for the beautiful art. I would really like that in my office.
It's beautiful. Copies and it rotates through the board. I don't think that.
Should we add that in?
Another friendly amendment.
Okay, moving on to the LTE Youth Services Assistant position.
So as you probably expected, the library's gotten really busy since we moved to a new location. So the teen librarian position that we hired has just been absolutely instrumental, and I don't know how we would be surviving without adding that full-time position. So we really appreciate your efforts to help make that possible. Our staff has done a really great job of adjusting our workflows and schedules to really get settled from a place where we had one desk and everybody was together, to now we have 3 different desks that we're staffing, and we're finding that Saturdays have been much, much busier than historically they were. I think we had 100 people at story time on Saturday, which is huge. And so just trying to keep up. And then so the other thing we're worried about is summer is usually our busiest time when school is out, and so we're kind of trying to be prepared for that, knowing that we can't really know what to expect. But our youth services staff does a lot of work with programming, trying to make sure there's constructive volunteer opportunities and programs for youth to participate in when there is no school for the summer, and just to complement the school's efforts. So it's a very busy time for them in terms of programming. They have a lot of daycare visits, school groups, school-age groups coming to the library and asking for tours and things to really help engage the youth in the library. It's also when everybody wants to take their time off because it's a good time for traveling. So we already have, if you look at our summer calendar, we already have, you can see each week there's already people asking off. So because of selection of healthcare coverage levels, we do have some additional budget funds that will not be required for health insurance as originally budgeted. So I would recommend that we use those available funds to let us hire a LTE position, with the intent that that position be for the summer, so starting mid-May through the end of the summer. And that would allow us to have that extra help during those busy times, and might be a good opportunity for somebody that's looking for a summer job, or lots of different life circumstances, or a library school student, or somebody that would be a good fit for that, or it could be a teacher, it could be any number of different situations somebody might find that appealing. It would also, because it's an LTE position, it wouldn't lock us into any future years, so it'd be a great way to kind of see how that works and what our needs are as we're still trying to understand what our workflow and scheduling will look like. We're only a month in, so things might look very different 3 months from now than they do now. And then it would be budget neutral for the village because it would be within already budgeted dollars without adding to costs. It would help not just the youth services staff, but it would help the whole library. And I gave a couple examples, like in the summer, Kelly typically has 2 school groups that come in on Monday mornings, and so she wants to be there, but right now she also staffs the youth services desk on Monday nights. So, aside from our working a 12-hour day, it's just very hard to accommodate that extra usage without having any extra bodies or people to help do that. We also, community is also really hungry for more programming since we've moved to the new space, as you can see by the Saturday story time attracting 100 people. And so they're kind of looking for more offerings, and we're hoping to be able to do that, especially in the summer. We're hoping to have more Monday was my old library, more school-age programming during the summer, and just to expand those opportunities for families and kids. And then just because right now they're really, with 3 people taking turns at the desk, it's just really hard sometimes when there's unexpected circumstances. On a great day, we're fine, but when somebody has a meeting or somebody calls in sick, it gets really difficult. And so allowing them to have that extra help will also help the rest of the library, so that Laura might normally cover youth services shift, that might free her up to help in a different department, or just give us a little more flexibility. Just translating the whole library as a whole. For example, today we've had 2 people out sick in a power outage test this morning, and just trying to cover the desk and all the things that need to happen just gets a little bit challenging, and so this will just give us that little extra flexibility. And because the library board has authority of our positions and compensation, this would require both your approval to approve the new position and then the position description. And so we're recommending it just 20 hours per week for 16 weeks, which would get us through those summer months. It would be within those budget dollars with some room to spare. And then we took the current youth services assistant position description and simplified it a little bit. We wanted to make sure it was reflecting the duties that the position would be doing, supporting the summer reading program, working at the desks, but also recognizing that it's, because it's an LT position, there's some of the responsibilities of that position that would not be realized in that short period of time. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
Makes total sense.
Makes sense. So is there a motion to approve the description of the LTE Youth Services Assistant and hiring of that position for 20 hours per week for 16 weeks?
Moved.
Thank you, John. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Laura. Any discussion, questions? John?
I think this is a great idea.
Mm-hmm. I do too. Thank you. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you, everybody. Moving on to the 2023 DPI Annual Report and Statement of Library System Effectiveness.
John, I have your copy here. I'm going to read the signature copy. So this is something that we're required to annually file with the State Department of Public Instruction. And it's kind of like doing your taxes. They have very specific directions on how to count certain numbers. And the financial numbers specifically aren't necessarily like an accountant would think. So there's certain numbers that you might think that include certain things, but it might not match up with village accounting because it's not a financial report. It's more of a data report. So a lot of the information is just kind of factual. So the first page just talks about our address. We were able to up our square footage a little bit and our library hours. So the second page is really kind of interesting because that kind of summarizes our collection. So we have more than almost 57,000, we're 12 books short of 57,000 books in print in our collection. And so that's kind of interesting to see. It also shows our total circulation. So in the middle section, library services on page 2, you see the total circulation. And so that's a number we're expecting to go up in future years. The other visits, you see reference transactions. So every time somebody asks a reference question, we have to keep track of that. Things like where's the bathroom or how do you reserve a study room aren't necessarily reference transactions, but if you were saying, I'm looking for a book on this, or a very specific question that requires some expertise other than pointing, then those would count as reference transactions. Library visits are also counted, so we have a door counter that counts every time somebody goes in and out. And so this is our annual count for 2023, and again, we're looking for that to go up. But more than 77,000 visits in 2023, despite being closed for much of December. On page 3 of that report, we'll also keep track of our programs, and so every time Kelly does a story time or Kara has an adult program, we need to count the number of people in that program. And sometimes it's easier to do than others. Sometimes we miss a few folks because people are coming and going, but that's our best effort to capture all those attendees at those programs. You can see there's a large number of programs, and last year we had a lot of off-site programs as well. The school has been a great host for us for a lot of our special programs, youth center, things like that. So some of those off-site programs we'll continue to be doing as part of our outreach efforts, but some of the off-site program was by necessity just because we didn't have a space, and so you can expect to see the number of on-site programs increase, and hopefully the attendance increases as well. On page 4, it has the library board members, so if you have any corrections to your information, please let me know. And then page 5 is revenue, so we're required to report our funding sources. Our largest funding source is the Village of Oregon. We also get payments from Dane County, and that's about $220,000, and then reimbursement from adjacent counties that have residents use our library and live in a place where they don't have their own municipal library. And our biggest user is Greene County folks. We also have to record certain reimbursement and then just general operating sources in general. And then page 6 summarizes how we spent those funds. The biggest costs we have are personnel and benefits that go along with having those employees. We also have, itemized what we spend on collection and different services. There's a lot of things that are lumped together in other operating expenses, so that could be something like purchasing a trash can or office supplies, and so that's a kind of a big pool for what's left. The capital section isn't as intuitive, so this is really probably not that useful if you think about our building project, just because it has very certain parameters of how we record certain things. So if you're interested in our actual project costs, I can give those numbers to you separately outside of this, but this isn't, I don't think, the most useful tool because of how the numbers are tracked and what they ask for. Other funds held by the library board are what funds remained at the end of the year in terms of building donation funds that the library held, friends funds that the library still held, and other donations that you still had. And those are funds that the library board gets to decide how to spend unless they're restricted to a specific use like the capital funds. Page 7 outlines our staffing levels and different positions we have. So right now we have a total of 12.53 FTE as of the end of the year. With the addition of the full-time position, we're now at 13.5, but this was as of the end of the year. So. And then page 8 is used to track statistics for that county reimbursement. So it tracks uses to our library in terms of circulation by people that live in other counties, whether they have a library or not, or even if they live elsewhere in the state or out of state. And then probably page 9 just verifies that we're compliant with Chapter 43 of the state statutes in terms of how we're organized and how we're functioned, which we are. Some communities have challenges with fulfilling some of those requirements, so it's just making sure that we are meeting those. And then the last page, page 10, is just a statement whether or not we feel the South Central Library System has effectively met our needs. And I would recommend we say that they did meet our needs, and then I added a few comments about the folks that were specifically helpful this year because of our building project. And we would have had significant challenges without the help of either one of those. This is Deb Hefner, who helped us with, helped us review our floor plans. She helped us bid and select, and even was here for a lot of the installation of a lot of the furniture. And then Will Allington, who's the network administrator, who helped us when BadgerNet, who we are supposed to have internet through, wasn't able to provide service by November 1, and we still don't have a service from them. He was able to work with us on Plan B, and then we're actually on Plan C right now to make sure that we have internet to the library. Otherwise, we would not have BadgerNet right now. So, so he was very helpful. And then page 11 is just notes, and those aren't really useful to you, but it's useful for us in looking back or in understanding where the numbers came from. It's more helpful for me next year when I fill it out than anything else. Does anybody have any questions about any numbers they see on the report?
May I?
Yes, you may.
What's an FFE?
Furniture, fixtures, and equipment. FF&E is like a table or a piece of artwork or a chair that goes in a building.
Makes perfect sense now.
Anything that's not built by somebody but is equipping the building, kind of.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the annual report?
Sure.
Thank you, Carolyn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, John. Any discussion, questions?
Thanks for all the hard work you and your staff that
Yeah.
goes into putting it together.
Yeah, I just remember every year it's really a tedious report, but it's got a lot of
Not a good information.
good information.
Thank you for your work on that.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see some of those numbers next year, too.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor of approving the annual report?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving on to the Inflation Reduction Act incentive application.
And so this is more of just an FYI, and it might be something that we have in a future agenda. The Inflation Reduction Act passed in like August of 2022, I believe. It was right when we were going out to bid, and includes some incentives for solar and geothermal and energy saving incentives for municipal building projects. It took them a very long time to develop the guidelines for that, and so when we went out to bid, we didn't know exactly what would qualify or what the rules would be, just that we wanted to apply for that if we were eligible, which we anticipate we will be. They were going to open a pre-registration process in the fall, but that ended up getting delayed, and they didn't open that till very late December. So now we're in a position where they've opened that process up. And it's a little bit complicated, and nobody's really navigated it before, and I feel spread thin, and I also don't feel like I know very much about that process, and having gone through the federal grant process, I'm a little bit overwhelmed with it. HGA, which is our commissioning agent, said that they would be able to help to some extent with that, and then we had meetings with them. I think the main thing is they're not really sure what's eligible, and we want to make sure that we get funding for everything that's eligible as new construction. We met with 3 different accounting or tax professional firms to see, what it would cost them to assist us. And we got bids ranging from $12,000 to $80,000. And so obviously we would be less comfortable with something on the higher end, but the main thing is because we're new construction, there's some ambiguity that's not straightforward as to whether or not certain things like ductwork, that you might have to have ductwork for another project, but because we have geothermal, is it eligible or not? And so there's some thought that having somebody that's really up on this law and what's eligible might be able to help us maximize our refund, I guess it is. Basically, you have to file a 990T form through the village. The village doesn't typically file tax forms, but they would file that form. And then it's a refund-based thing, and because of the cost of our system, you can get up to 30% of the cost. So like our solar system was $150,000, so 30% back on that's a huge amount. The geothermal, I don't know exactly what the costs are of that, but 30% back we can be talking a 6-figure refund, which is a big deal. We want to get that money back. I talked to Dane County, and I asked if they had heard of any other municipalities working with somebody for the financial assistance, and they said, oh, you can do it yourself, and that the IRS would be helpful, and that there are some companies trying to capitalize on the fact that people don't feel comfortable and might be trying to make a penny, more than a penny off of it. They also suggested we talk to the village audit company to see if that's something they could provide. We did ask the village audit company There are two financial companies the village works with. One said that they don't know anything about it, and it's really not some service they can provide. The village auditor declined, saying that there's kind of an independence issue if they were
That's fair.
making judgments
Because they're your
about
audit company. Yep.
yeah, about
Makes
what would
sense.
be eligible, and then doing the audit, and they thought that was not appropriate, even though that was kind of what Dane County recommended. McFarland is confidently doing this on their own, and I haven't been able to talk to the specific person. They were on vacation when I reached out and had time. I kind of let the county know where we were at with it, kind of not feeling confident about it, and so McFarland is going to be doing a workshop with Dane County to talk about how easy it is to do on March 6th, and so I'll be attending that. I also was kind of getting some mixed messages. McFarland said that HGA was going to be helping them get the documentation, and when I talked to HGA themselves, they didn't seem like they were really wanting to do kind of, so I'm a little worried there might be some different expectations about what role they might have in the process. There's a pre-registration you have to do 120 days before you do the official registration, and so I've been meaning to do that for 2 weeks, and every time I try, something comes up. There's also 75 pages of instructions on how to pre-register. So I'm a little nervous about that, but I talked to the village administrator. He said, well, at least try and see. The deadline for us to file is mid-May, and then, but most projects, because of the timeline when they had the pre-registration out, are going to have to file an extension. And so our project, almost guaranteed, almost every project applying is going to have to file an extension form. It gives you the additional 6 months to file. So that's not such a big deal, getting that time in the pre-registration. If we can just get that done, we have more time. The main thing is making sure we can get the invoices and documentation from the contractors in a timely fashion before it gets, later on after the, it'll get harder to get those things. So to make a long story short, the goal is we want to apply for this. It's very important, and it could be a big benefit to the village. Our MOU with the village says that any incentives we get, any funding we get from this will go back to the village to pay off the debt service. That was part of the additional $600,000 they contributed, and so we would honor that. But I just feel a little bit out of my wheelhouse in terms of being spread thin with time and also not having the expertise and wanting to do this to get every penny we can. So I might go to the workshop and find out, hey, this is super easy, we can do this, no worries. And I might also come back and say, hey, I really want you to approve this $12,000 proposal so we can get an extra $50,000. So it's a little hard because, I can't just say this is the amount we're going to get back until we go through the process. But it is a rebate. It's not like, it is a rebate, so you're supposed to be getting the money back based on what expenses you've had. So even the solar alone should be, a significant amount of money. So even that should pay for any expenses we have. So that's where I'm at. I just want to lay that out there in case I come back next month. I want you to know kind of where we are with that process. But it's a huge dollar amount for the village, and I think it's important somebody to do it. I just don't know if I'm the right somebody. What? March 6th. Yeah, it's noon on March 6th. I can send you the link if you'd like to join us.
I'm joining too, so, we're trying to look at it for some things we're doing at Mariner, and everybody's just as overwhelmed, I think, as you are. It's not be interesting to listen to.
Are there any questions about that?
No, I just want to say I appreciate you. I feel like we have done so many things that have just thrown more and more things at you, and then to get to the end of the project and be like, surprise!
Just
here's
when you thought
one
you were
more
done,
thing.
here's another huge
So I appreciate all the effort that is going into this. I imagine it is. I imagine you need a vacation more than you need this paperwork. Honestly.
I would definitely prefer to go on vacation than
Yeah.
do this paperwork. That's accurate.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
And I will attend that webinar with you.
Thank you.
I'll email that to you. Moving on to Senior Center Transportation Pilot.
Just wanted to share this memo that was in the village board packet. The senior center is just very proactive and responsive to their community members, and they're a great partner for us. So they have arranged a pilot program for their transportation service. The main focus of that service is for 16 and older living within the senior center service area. And they provide rides that focus mostly on medical needs and food needs. But because the food pantry is right across the street from the library, they're doing a pilot project to see if on Tuesdays that they can also offer rides to the library for folks who have that need. And so the senior center had two people that spoke with their caseworkers that might be interested. The library had talked to a few seniors that, when we were asking people that had transportation concerns to talk to us. And so all those folks have been contacted about this service. They have to make an advanced registration appointment in advance with the senior center directly, and that way the transit solutions can coordinate the best and most effective routes. So we're excited to be able to have that option for any seniors who coming to the library is not quite as convenient as it was when it was right next door there. So really appreciate the senior center taking the extra time and making these arrangements for us and the community members that will benefit from it.
So just to clarify, everyone we know of who had this concern has been reached out to?
Yes.
And offered this? Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you to the senior center too.
Yeah, amazing work.
It's a great resource. New library pedestrian and exit signage.
At the last meeting, we talked a little bit about just making sure that the library access was safe and easy for folks. So this is a conversation that happened prior to our last meeting, and the village was already working on some things to improve the intersections and safety. So I just wanted to share the things that they were exploring. Some of the items, I think number 1 is already done, and I think number 2, they put up the polls for outside. Our staff was asking about what the posts were, and I think that's number 2. So just you can kind of see that they are working on some of those things, just because it's kind of transitioning, the way that people, obviously there's a lot of walkers outside if you are here, but transitioning where people are coming from and increasing the pedestrian crossing foot traffic. If others have ideas, we can let Jeff know, but they're doing a great job of being proactive for us and helping us out with those things.
I appreciate it. As someone who has 2 small kids who cross a lot now.
Yeah. Village municipal code update.
The village is doing a great job of updating their code, and so I just wanted to share the page that's relevant to the library board. I think mostly they were just cleaning up some language regarding state statute, but I just wanted to share the most current language to you, so you had that available. If you have any questions, I can get back to you if needed, but I don't think anything in here is very surprising.
Any questions? No. Library statistics.
So our staff has been feeling the increase in numbers, and they're so excited to see more people, but just wanted to share some of those numbers. You can see 2024 is in purple, and so even though we were closed a number of days because we weren't open a full month, because we opened mid-month, and then we also had some snow days that were in early January that week where we had a lot of snow days. So even though we were open far fewer days than a typical January, our numbers were really impressive, and so it's just great to see that community response. People are coming and using the library. One of the most significant increases was library visits, and that's in a handout later. I'll show you. I'm kind of losing myself in the agenda. Sorry. Statistics. On the last page on your handout for the director's report, the last page is just kind of an infographic just pulling a couple of the most impressive statistics. And so I'm just going to highlight those. So library visits, we were almost had twice as many visits as we did last January. That's huge. For library cards, we did over 317 library cards for folks that didn't already have a card. That doesn't include anybody that was renewing it or missed their card. It was people that didn't have a card previously. A typical month, we maybe do 100, would be a busy month, and so 300 is amazing. Again, we didn't really have study room use since we closed the Sue Ames room during the pandemic to make more room for staff. And already in January, we had the study rooms open on day 1, but we just opened our conference room reservations earlier on Monday, I think, and we had reservations the first day. We also have had a number of community reservations, even though it's only been open for a few weeks. And so we already had 180 reservations so far this year, and we're just getting started. So I think we'll anticipate that will continue to rise as people visit and kind of see how things work. Checkouts are up, not surprisingly. Reference questions too, that people aren't just asking, just looking around, but they're actually like asking some more involved questions. So just exciting to see those numbers. We'll probably check back in March and see kind of how the first quarter is once kind of things stabilize a little bit, but it's just so exciting to see community members enjoy the library.
Thank you to the staff for like really stepping up their game to triple, over 300 new library cards. It's fantastic.
That's wonderful, yeah.
Management team quarterly reports.
And this is through the end of December, just because everybody's been so busy that we haven't really had a chance to reflect on things. But I just wanted to make sure we didn't skip that because our staff is doing so many incredible things, and that's the reason that the community loves the library so much is from their hard work. So a lot of the work they were doing, is focused on preparing for the move to the library and getting things set up, and each department really worked hard to do that in their own way. We kind of paused programming, but there's just so many wonderful things in here. I'd encourage you, if you read nothing else in the packet, page to page, that you just take a few minutes to read, this part and see what each department is doing. I'm afraid to highlight it because I don't want to undermine everything else, but everybody works so hard. I guess I will highlight that we did some fun as part of our moving. We had staff dress-up days, so that is important because it was really good for morale and just kind of a testament to our staff and how important, being positive and having that good relationship with themselves and the public was. So I think that is important to note. And the other thing you see in here is some photos, and again, that was part of our staff in service while we were closed for moving. Really good chance for staff to kind of explore the building and just have a little bit of fun during a very busy and stressful time. People were still laughing and taking fun photos as part of our staff in service, so that was great to see. Yeah, and we moved, so.
That too.
But yeah, if you have any questions on that, let me know.
Fun photos.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Director's report.
So I apologize that this is late, so I sent this out by email today because there's a lot of links to press stuff in there that I wanted you to have. But there's just so much going on and there's so many exciting things, so I just wanted to highlight some. So first, we finally submitted our first request for reimbursement from the federal grant. We submitted that earlier this week, and then we also had, at the end of January, we had some annual paperwork we had to complete by the end of the month, so we did that annual paperwork. So those are moving forward, so I'm hopeful that we'll have our first reimbursement check very soon, and then we're allowed to submit a request for a draw once a month, and then there's a few things on our checklist that we have to provide before we get the final draw. So I'm hoping that the first request was for about $750,000. And so that would allow the village to reimburse the majority of the loan, the short-term loan that we took out, and then kind of keep up with expenses on a month basis, which will be great. So we were not paying any interest on that, so that's exciting. Our teen librarian started in January. I think she started just before our last meeting, but she's just been a wonderful addition to the team. Really kind of hit the ground running and has already been doing some teen programming, which is exciting to see. And just we're really looking forward to what that extra staff person means for our programming and our youth. And we also are hosting a practicum student from the iSchool, and they're assisting with the teen and tween events. And so they had an art workshop the other day, and Gretchen helped with that. So it's great to have that extra help and helping out a library school student get some experience in the same time. We also have a lot of partnerships with community groups. The Lions Club is, again, supporting our 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program, which is intended to help promote reading with kids before they start school. They will be presenting their donation during our special event on March 2nd. Kelly's working on promotion for that, but it's just an annual special event where we have a character and then lots of fun activities for kids to kind of really just learn about the program and just celebrate reading and come to the library. Highlighting that our conference room, now all of our rooms that are available for reservation are available now. This one had been shut down because they had to replace the glass. They were still installing AV systems, and now they're at a point where any further work isn't going to affect use of the room. So now all those rooms are available, so that's exciting. And like I said, the same day that we opened it like 9 o'clock in the morning. We had reservations by the afternoon, so people are very excited about meeting room space. We also worked with the senior center because, you know, the new library, we just want to make sure anybody has transportation. So we have a walker and a wheelchair on loan from the senior center to see if those are things that there is demand for, or whether people, you know, have their own devices and prefer to use those instead. So big thanks to the senior center for loaning those, so we can kind of test them out and see if that's something that folks would appreciate having here. They can just pop to the desk and we can grab it for them to use. Already talked about the pilot program for rides. We had a group from Prairie View make some bookmarks for us to hand out, so you can check those out at the children's desk on your way out if you want to see a few of those neat designs as a special class project. We also had a book club. The BFF book club made some wonderful bags that we handed out at our youth services desk for Storytime Week, and they were a huge success. I don't know who enjoyed it more, the book club or the kids, but everybody just really felt great about it. It was just really fun to see folks enjoy those. Oregon Frozen Yogurt, you may have seen, did a promotion in January to give back 20% of sales on Tuesday to support the library. And so they made a nice donation to us from that promotion, so thank you to them for giving back. Friends of the Library have moved all their storage locker items into our book sale room, so they're all settled, and so that's exciting to have them have that taken care of and be part of that. We also didn't quite anticipate all the media opportunities we've had over the last month and a half. I don't know if everybody saw, Carol did a nice interview with Channel 15 in January, so if you haven't seen her interview, I'd encourage you to listen to that. We also were featured in the In Business magazine for February's issue, and OCA's done a great job of helping out promote our teen librarian, and we did a tour of the new library with them in January. So just lots of great opportunities to kind of share what we're doing with community members and beyond. That's all I'm going to highlight from here. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer that. I also do have in your packet a calendar of some of the upcoming programs for February and March. We kind of paused programming for a little while, and we're back up and running for a pretty good schedule, and you'll see that kind of pick up even more as we near summer. But they're doing amazing, fun things, and we're having just a great response from community members.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jennifer. Any village board announcements?
I'll be totally honest, I've been to both my committee meetings, but I have not been to a board meeting since my knee surgery, and I don't feel prepared to report. The last meeting was super short, so don't know what happened.
I think the main things you do want to notice, there is a election coming up in April, so just important to know that there's 3 seats and 6 candidates running for those, and also that the library is fortunate to be serving as a polling place for those for that election. So we will be opening our community room as a voting place, and then it'll be available after hours for them to finish up voting after the library closes, which is super exciting.
And there's uncontested school board races. There's no judicial race. I think there's maybe a county judicial race, but the village board is the contested local races.
Thank you. Any school district announcements?
Well, there's all kinds of good things, but the one thing I think is really relevant here is starting in the fall, every one of our K-4 buildings will have a full-time instead of a half-time librarian. And it was done as a way to combine technology and library into one position, so it was done through reallocation as opposed to new FTE, but we're really excited about it.
That's exciting.
So it seemed like the appropriate announcement for the library board.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's see, our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, March 13th, here in the library conference room on the second floor. Is there a request for any future agenda items? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
It is Valentine's Day, but it's also Library Lovers Day.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is. Yes, it is. It's Library Lovers Day.
That's so
So
nice.
I posted something on my Facebook page, if anybody's a Facebook friend of mine, about Free People Read Freely. So, welcome to share that. I can send you all kinds of gifts and needs if you'd like. This one was more tame. Yeah.
Well, happy Library Lovers Day. Motion to adjourn, anybody?
So moved.
Thank you, Coral. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Laura. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
And John would appreciate the chance for us to get a library board group photo to commemorate our first meeting here. So if all of you wouldn't mind sticking around for just a few moments to do that.
And whomever shared the chocolates, thank you very much.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.